Welcome to a next episode of our AI Unscripted series. Today we're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about specifically business in the Brussels area because I'm here joined with Thierry Geerts, CEO of BECI, which is basically the Brussels Chamber of Commerce. But of course Thierry has a specific background, and that's also the reason why I definitely wanted to speak to Thierry, because of course he is the previous director of Google Belgium. And he's also involved in winter circus and all that stuff. We're going to talk about that later on. But Thierry, welcome. Thanks for joining.
The pleasure.
So it's not a coincidence that if you look at BECI, Chamber of Commerce Brussels, that AI is predominantly on the website also and part of the mission statement.
Yeah. We help companies to thrive in the actual world.
Yeah.
And the actual world is including AI. Mm-hmm. And so we have communities about talent, we have community about we have communities about ESG, but definitely we needed one on AI and digitalization.
Yeah.
And that became one of the main topics because it's the main topic for companies today. Mm-hmm. So that we can demystify, that we can help companies out, and also to give some trainings, but also connect companies with each other so they can exchange best practices.
But you have a background at Google. How different is that? Because you're talking about BECI, indeed, Chamber of Commerce, big difference, I guess.
Well, it's a big difference or not.
Yeah.
I think at Google we were really connected with the outside world. You know, you feel the city, you feel the country, you know what people are searching, you know what is happening on technology. And in the Chamber of Commerce, you have the same thing. You have this connection with companies. I think the difference is working for an international company, a corporate company, or working for an SME, which is the case here. That's a big difference. But about the job there is less difference that you can think of.
Yeah.
At Google, my work at the end was a lot of policy and communication. And obviously, we are here to defend the benefits of 35,000 companies. That's the volume that we had as customers at Google as well.
Yeah. So many SMEs here. So are they really proactively talking about the AI based on your experience, or is that a bit?
Well, Brussels is very interesting because you have all types of companies in Brussels. You have the PwC of the Googles of this world. They come in the headquarters in Brussels, and you have very small companies, one-person companies, and for very diverse origin. So you could say, well, they don't need AI or they cannot use AI, and this first will be wrong. But for big companies, you can afford consultants. You have top management being educated about it. It's not so obvious for an SME, and so that's where we come in to offer to those all types of companies that kind of support. But in fact, it's easier for a small company to adopt AI than for a big company. Two main things for that. Mm-hmm. The first thing is compliance. As a big corporation, it's very hard to be fully compliant. It's super important. But if you are an SME, you can just start doing it. You cannot do anything, but a lot of things you can just do. And secondly, resistant to change. The bigger the organizations, most of the time when there is a change, it's middle management blocking. So even if you have an SME and the CEO, the owner is convinced, he can decide and start on Monday, which is impossible of a company of 1,000 people. They will have unions, they will have board of directors and other things that you interact. And you see that with innovation, sometimes it's easier to be small.
Yeah, of course, scale is also important. So is that then a bit the role that BECI also plays in sharing best practices? Or?
I think we play the role of informing, inspiring. Scale, it's not that important because the scale comes from the platform. So you can compare the AI revolution with the electricity. It's the same kind of change on society, the second industrial revolution to the fourth industrial revolution. But you could say, as SME, I cannot afford an industrial plant for electricity. So you are purchasing your electricity from the outside world. Mm-hmm. And now an SME can do exactly the same. They can use the tools that have the scales, but they don't need to develop tools with that kind of scale. Mm. And a lot of benefits today on using AI and Gen AI is just using tools. You don't. For one big example on that, one very obvious one is translation. Yeah. So translation is generative AI. To be clear, Google Translate is even if it's an old thing from 2006, it's pure generative AI. So you can start using it on Monday, and you can decide to have all your employees speaking 130 languages from one day to another. Multilinguages is important for companies to export. But that will be easy for an SME just starting doing that. And on big companies, they say, is it compliant? I agree to use it. And then people will sometimes block it, or the company will block the use of Copilot, of Gemini. So those kind of things are interesting because it's an opportunity for small companies. It's an opportunity for big companies if they do it really well. But you see that a lot of AI projects that are big top-down projects are failing, while just the use of tools are most of the time successful on a very short time base.
Yeah, because many big corporates are indeed going now in the round of doing use cases, a lot of use cases. There was also in the press lately, trim down, please, all those use cases and focus a bit more, which is probably a luxury that SMEs not have to do all those kinds of...
Also, it's far more pragmatic, and it maybe can miss a big business model change or something like that. But in just getting the benefits of Gen AI or AI on a short term, they can be better.
I'm talking about benefits because is it efficiency for you, or is it looking at new opportunities for SMEs?
I think if you only think at AI to be something to cut costs, that will be very difficult and very dangerous. Why? Let's say that you say to everyone in your company, we will start with AI and now we are cutting costs. It will maybe work for the first time in your first project, but there will be a big resistance to change. And so afterwards, you will probably not be able to implement fast enough the opportunities. If you start with the opportunities, you show why it's beneficial with examples where you have better customer intimacy, you make work nicer for people, you take some repetitive tasks out, but they enjoy the benefits of it. If after that you decide to cut costs in your call center by 30%, it will be just one project, but the AI will be adopted already. With every technological change, adoption is more important than the technology and such. You can be the best one in technology and completely fail. You have another examples for that. So it is really transformational. So you need the adoption. And if you don't start with projects that will stimulate the adoption, you will block your future ability to adopt other projects.
Which is basically a positive view, because you're a positivist, you're an optimist.
I'm a possibilist. You're a possibilist because I think, I'm possibilist. You're also just can show
a lot of homo digitalis, which is basically a positive narrative.
It is, I believe that AI is the wrong word. In fact, it's not humanity what we are doing. If you see what you can do as an individual with those digital tools, you can connect with 5 billion people, you can talk 130 languages, you can find your way here in Brussels, you can use Waze. Those are tools are doing things that is just unimaginable for my grandfather, for example. And once we start to recognize that what we can do with that technology, you can afford managing the risks because you understand it, you get some benefits, and then you can manage. If you start as a good Belgians with the risks and you try to control all the risks, you're always behind. And secondly, it's impossible because the only way to manage the risks is first to understand how it works. And you will only understand how it works if you do something positive with it. And so I believe that we are now an evolved species. We're not an Homo sapiens anymore. We're in Homo digitalis. And understanding that, as CEO, you have to understand that your employees are also Homo digitalis. So if you can try to work with your people in the old school way to control them to work from 9 to 5 and use stupid tasks and no inspiration and no context, then you will lose your talents. If you consider them as Homo digitalis, you inform them, you allow them to use the AI that they use privately. How many companies don't use AI, but the employees are using it in a private way? And then you have the impression that to go to work, you need a time machine to go back in time. And that's obviously not the way you want to develop your company.
And is that a differentiator that we can have a country like Belgium or even Brussels as a region, that indeed we may go maybe faster. Also their scale you talked about is not that important compared to bigger countries.
I strongly believe as Belgians, we have to be the champion in implementation of AI. You know, the programming of AI, we've missed it a bit. It's Silicon Valley, Chinese. It's very expensive. It's very risky as well. So you need a lot of capital risk to be able to do it. But you can be the best at implementation of it. And since our salary cost is higher than outside in the neighboring countries, and you can do 20, 30% efficiency gains or better customer interaction, whatever it is, we have the most benefits to take benefit of this technology. But then let's stop crying. Let's not saying, oh, we want to develop things that are existing already. We just take the existing tools and we start to get the benefits as fast as well. And definitely the challenge on those AI projects is to gather the benefits. You can give Copilot to all your employees, it will cost you some money, and then they will be more efficient, but you will not measure anything because they will spend more time doing whatever else. So you really have to work with the teams to be able that you get the benefits, you do something else with the time that you have gained. And that's not so easy. And I think that's for Belgians is interesting because we are pragmatic and we have a lot of well-educated people. In general, we have also a neutral view on the technology. We are not doing the hype, but we are not that afraid on technology either. So I think we are in a good shape to do so. What we need is some more inspiration and some more ambition.
Yeah, a bit less modesty maybe here and there.
Modesty is nice, but it's different to be modest or to be shy. Or to have like an ambition. I think you can have an enormous ambition with a lot of modesty. Here at BECI, I have a 10x ambition to grow. But I don't say we will succeed. We are the best in the town. We say that's interesting to do. It's possible. That will be exciting. We will use the good tools to do so, and then you get excitement. And then if you can manage to have growth in those times, that's always better for the team, but motivation. But also as nature, we need growth. We need movement, we need inspiration. And I think that's why I wrote a book on Homo Digitalis, if we can make people not afraid anymore of the technology, but believe of the possibilities of technology, then it will be just a more interesting ride. And the chance of success are just 10 times higher. Because when you do something because you have to, you're never good at it. I have to learn English at school, and I was the worst student. So I was good at everything except for language and definitely not on English. And then I started working for PwC when I was in 1989, imagine. And then I had to do my paper in English, and I had the first review with the partner, and everything was nice except my language. But then you learn very fast because you need it. And so from the worst student, I worked for American companies. I worked for Google. My English is still...
And AI didn't exist.
And AI didn't exist, imagine that. Yeah.
But touching upon the talent part and because many people I talk to, CEOs, but also HR directors, they are struggling a bit with the question, workforce. How will that evolve? Yes, we need to involve people. Yes, we have high talented people, but will we have enough of those? And how are we going to teach younger people if parts of the job are basically automated via AI or otherwise? How do you see that evolving?
I think it's I understand the risks, and it's not wrong what they say, but I think that it goes on a longer time frame. It's now just 3 years that we had the launch of ChatGPT, and if you read the news at that moment, so November 2023, it was like it will change the world. Students will not study anymore. We will
Nostradamus.
Everything Nostradamus. No CEOs anymore. We're now 3 years later. To be honest, it doesn't change our life that much. It's there. You use the tool. Most of the companies have had more costs than lesser cost about it. So most of the time, those changes take 10 years. And in 10 years' time, it's very hard for humans to imagine all the things that will change, because the talent that you will attract will be other talents. There will be other things at schools happening. So I think it's impossible to think about that. What you can do today is just look at the outside world and see we don't have enough talent. We will need to develop talent. And the only way to make the job done is having AI. One thing is sure, for example, healthcare, we will not have enough doctors and nurses in 10 years' time. So if we don't use AI as fast as possible to make their job more attractive, less running around, more helping patients, the thing will not be done. When I was at Google 10 years ago, a big disaster, self-driving cars, you would have all those truck drivers will be unemployed. Guess what? We don't find people to drive with trucks today. We don't find people to drive with trams and buses. So AI is too late on that. We needed to be faster on automated vehicles because it's impossible to find the people that want to do that job because there are other jobs. We're creating a lot of other jobs. In the meantime, we don't fill those roles and we are not ready yet with optimization. So, trains and farms can be automated quite fast and we will find jobs for those guys. And also the fixed assets are invested for a long time. So you will not replace everything in one time. So it will be an evolution. Once again, it will take 5 or 10 years' time.
And specifically in Brussels, I guess that also the workforce discussion is slightly different than in the other parts of the countries.
Well, it was a bizarre discussion because when I arrived here, there are 96,000 unemployed in Brussels. And the narrative is there's only one job for 5 unemployed people, so 20,000 jobs. But on the opposite, all my members are crying for people. So I said, there is not something strange. So I took my knowledge from Google. We did some crawling of the web with some data analysts. We found 100,000 jobs. So there are 100,000 jobs for 96 unemployed people. It will not fit perfectly, but it will fit in one way or another. We can connect more people. It's just that this market and the people who are working in that area are thinking in an old school way of unemployment. There are no jobs. The jobs are in structured databases. They don't think about social media where most of the jobs are posted now. And so we are really trying to change the narrative from Brussels on that. And we need to do so because a lot of people will lose their unemployment benefits at the beginning of the next year. And the message is, it will be hard, but there are jobs available, which is very good for the economy because then companies will find people and that's good for the economy. Economy will grow. And secondly, we don't have to pay those unemployed people. And most important, they will have a life back because it's better to have a job than to be on unemployment. So I think we are in a difficult moment, but also something that we, once again, if you are possibilist and you look at the things in another way, and is that AI? Well, partly, it was impossible to make this 100,000 pitch without AI. You need AI to do crawl web and to find those jobs. But at the end, it's just normal work.
Yeah. Brussels is also the biggest university city of the country.
Yeah.
Is there a link between BECI and the universities in terms of how do they evolve? Are we really creating the right skill sets?
So we are in touch with all the governments that we have in Brussels and quite a lot, and all the universities. And it's a good connections, but I think what we miss is an AI master plan or something like that. We still manage Brussels. It's not only in Brussels. I think we manage this country as being on a normal thing with some crises, but not on the AI journey. Yeah. For the national government, there is the statement of Bart de Wever, for example. There's nothing about AI in the full story.
Absolutely.
And that's bizarre when you're in 25, you're in the midst of an industrial revolution, which is also a human revolution, as I said.
It's of course regionalized then. So that's probably also...
On the regions, you hear a bit more about AI. In Flanders, you have some AI plan, but it's not like, guys, this is amazing, like you have in Singapore or other places in the world. And I don't want to overhype technology, but I want to be involved with the impact of technology on people and on business. And this impact is high, not as a panic of a hype, but it's high on a 10 years basis. And a government, a CEO has to be involved with a longer term. It's not for you to have your monthly budget. You don't need AI. You need your AI to succeed in the next thing, which is creating value for a company.
Yeah. So how do you see the AI revolution evolving in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
In 5 years' time, it will be as normal as your smartphone. You forget about it. You have it. You use it for tons of things, but you completely forget about that. I started at Google in 2011, and then it was the mobile first revolution. And then you would visit banks and it would say, well, we'll see about the mobile. And then you had the mobile shakeout, and now the app is more important than all the other services of the bank. But now it's obvious for everyone. So AI and Gen AI will be obvious for everyone in 2030. The question is, there will some companies will have taken benefit of it.
Yeah.
As you see now with some banks with amazing apps, and some others will be having complicated journey, lagging behind and trying to catch up. And so you have to be on the train of this Gen AI revolution, but not in a hype way, because that's also wrong. Then you just spend money.
But there's always winners and losers. I think also as individuals, I think it's the question, will the digital divide increase or decrease? Well, if you're not following the AI trend, you may be at the losing end.
Yeah, so that's always the case. It's a problem for the ones not using it.
Yeah.
But on the digital divide, it's less complicated than the IT divides. If you had your first PC, it was impossible to do something without guidelines, trainings, software that you had to install. And it was used mainly in offices in the beginning. It was an expensive machine, and was used by 20% of the population. And this digital AI is used by 95% of the Belgians. So making good use of it is complicated, but it's easier to use.
Without even knowing
it. Without knowing the tools are easier to use, and the trainings are shorter than it was in the computer revolution. And I think that's also something to remind that it's less complicated than you can think.
Maybe Thierry, to start landing a bit on this session, a few questions, and don't think too long on the answer.
Okay.
It's more a bit of what's the first app that you use in the morning? AI driven.
It's L'Echo, because it's news, and it's for the moment wants to bring the best news on Brussels. And I'm sure that they use AI to optimize the news and the way it's presented to me.
The biggest mistake that you ever made relating to technology?
To technology?
Yeah.
No, I think I managed it well. I never went on a hype.
Okay.
I'm not the early adopter that people are thinking, and that's good, because otherwise you become a nerd. But I was there on time. For example, I worked in the 90s. I was working for an industrial laundry company, so quite different. And I was king of the town, because at that time I was managing PCs better than the others, because it was new in the beginning of the 90s. And then in 95, it was an American company. I had to send the production details by email to the headquarters. And I was like, whoa, I received instructions, MCI mail, super complicated. But I sent the email, it was successful. And that day I decided I had to change job, because there was something happening I didn't get. And so I started in the media, and I continue, and then the internet became an important story. But I never worked for a purely tech startup in the moment that it was a hype, or get on Second Life, or in the metaverse, or those hypes. I think so. Getting your understanding of what's happening without jumping too fast, I think that's not that I do everything well. But on technology, I was quite...
and what would you do if you would be now 30 years younger?
I would start with an international career. I would start in Dublin, for example, where there's a lot of tech companies there. The negative thing about my career is only Belgian career. With Google, I had the chance to travel the world, but still. So I'm an expert on Belgium, which is very nice for my actual job to can defend Brussels. Nowhere else. But in this connected world, it's good to work in Asia, to work in US for a time. That I missed that.
But still come back afterwards. Otherwise,
end of everything.
The brain.
This is the best place in the world. The more you travel, the more you will understand that this is the best place to work.
Okay. Thank you, Thierry.
Very interesting. Thank you for coming to BECI. It was an honor to have you here.
Thank you. And with this, thanks for tuning in, and hope that you found it interesting. I did, at least. So I'm sure that you also got a number of elements that were interesting to you. So see you around next time for another episode of AI Unscripted. Thank you. Bye-bye.